I recently made a video about where you can buy ready-made, ready-to-fly North American fighter kites. There are not very many places where you can do that. But I also thought maybe there are many people who do not currently make their own North American fighter kites, but would like to do that. And if they did, they may need to know some of the basic information that would help them identify the materials needed and the tools they needed to do the job. So this is my attempt at providing that information for you. So here is, and I'll post this in the description below in a PDF format so you can download it and go over it. But the first thing I do when I make a kite is I create a template from the dimensions of the kite plan. I do that because I may want to make more than one of these kites, and having a template that allows me to cut around it for the precise sail shape for that kite makes it very easy to make multiple kites. And since fighter kites use relatively small amounts of materials because they're small kites, well, it stands to reason you may want to make quite a few of them. At least I know I do. So what do you need? Well, to make the template, I use recycled postal boxes. They're thin cardboard, but any thin cardboard or thin material similar to cardboard would work. You need permanent markers of various tip sizes. You need a straight edge, 24 inches long or thereabouts. I have a stainless steel ruler that I like, and I use it all the time. I also have a triangle. It's a 45, 90-degree triangle that allows me to make a true 90-degree line. For example, on the wingtip line of a kite plan, 90 degrees to the spine line of the kite. So I use that triangle for that purpose. And then you need something to make the sail with. What would you use? You could use Icrex, various ripstops, both polyester and nylon, polyfilms, which are mylar-like, but not mylar, films that are thin, very flexible, very durable, and I love using them. Orcon, which is not readily available, but if you have it available, it's a good material. Tyvek, which is a very good material in terms of durability and availability, but it's a little bit heavy for some of the fighter kites. And various papers can be used if you're not flying in damp or wet weather. Then you need something to cut the sail material with and also cut the template with. To cut the template, I use a utility knife. I put a sharp new blade in it, or I use a break-off type of a utility knife and break off the blade and start fresh. Now, when I'm cutting the sail material, I either use a utility knife or I hot cut it with a rechargeable portable soldering iron. And I'll show you where these can be purchased if you're interested. And then next you need some glue, or you need tape, double-sided tape to bond the kite parts to each other. I like contact cement. Many kite makers prefer double-sided tape, and use it successfully also. Then you need a few drops of super glue to bond the tension lines and or the bridle lines to the kite spars. And you also need something for the kite spars. And although bamboo is a great material for kite spars, the kind of bamboo, the variety of bamboo that is used typically for fighter kite spars isn't readily available in North America. So what I have done here is focus on using carbon fiber exclusively for all of the spars, the spine and the bow, and the battens if you choose to use battens. Now the spine can be either a round carbon fiber rod or it can be a flat carbon fiber strip. And they come in various sizes. The bridle and tension line I use braided Dacron fishing line of 16 to 20 pound test. And I wax the areas of the line where knots will be in order for the knots to hold better. So either a piece of paraffin or a piece of beeswax works for that. And then you need something to reinforce the areas of the kite that might be damaged if the kites crashed. And believe me, kites crash. So any tape that will bond well to the sail material you're using will work fine for that. Packing tape, Scotch tapes, various other tapes all work. The leading edge of the fighter kite from the nose to the point where the nose meets the actual bow of the kite, that area I typically add a reinforcement to, and it's in the form of a tape. I just tape it between a 1/4 and a 1/2 inch wide strip. Battens in a North American fighter kite are frequently used, but they're optional. I like using them because they quiet the flapping of the sail during flight. Many kite flyers don't like using them, and their kites fly beautifully, although they may be a little noisier. So use your own discretion and decide what you like best. If you use battens, battens can be made of many, many different kinds of materials, including carbon fiber, like I use 0.03 or 0.75 millimeters diameter carbon rods. But I've also used coffee stir straws. I've used split pieces of bamboo, and they all work fine. I prefer the carbon fiber because it's so lightweight. Now, one of the things that when you go to buy the materials for making a North American fighter kite, usually you end up with more materials than you need for one kite. You actually end up with materials that you could use for making many, many kites, and I'll show you that in this next. The thing we're going to look at is the film that I use, which is a poly film. It's polypropylene, and I buy it from a company called papermart.com right here. Now, this is metallized polyfilm. So when you go to Papermart, type in metallized polyfilm and you'll get this page of their website. And you notice that it has it available in rolls or in sheets. The sheets are really nice, but you got to buy a lot of them in order for Papermart to ship them to you. You got to buy at least 100 and of one color. So I prefer buying the film I buy them in rolls, and you can buy different colors, and the rolls are 100 feet long and 30 inches wide. I mean, you can make many kites. It's $16 or $17 for each color. So you're going to have a lot of material to make lots of kites, and that's what I'm talking about. Now, the other thing is the spars. I buy my spars in two different places. For my bow material, the round carbon rods, I buy from buzzardmodels.com. And it's pull-throated carbon fiber rods. And I like to use the ones that are 1.5 millimeter in diameter. And they come in all kinds of diameters, but this is the kind I like. Now they are only 100 millimeters long, which is 1 meter. 1 meter is about, 36 inches, 38 inches. So if you're making a small kite, you might be able to get 2 bows out of 1 piece of the carbon fiber rod. If you're making a larger kite, you might, and you want to use a round carbon rod for the spine, you might be able to get a bow and a spine out of 1 piece. If not, then you're going to use 2 pieces of carbon rod, one for the bow, one for the spine. Now, this is the diameter that I prefer, but they have other diameters, bigger and smaller, that are available also. The reason I like Buzzard Models, though, isn't because of the carbon fiber they have. It's because of the way they deal with shipping. They have a flat rate shipping option, so that the shipping, no matter how many you buy, is a flat rate, and it is a phenomenal bargain. So that's why I use them. If I'm going to make a flat carbon spine in a kite, I use this website, AliExpress.com, and I type in here to search for AliExpress carbon fiber strips, 500 millimeters, which is as long as they will, as long as they is the longest length they will ship. So that length and 1 millimeter thick, 5 millimeters wide, or 4 millimeters wide, or 6 millimeters wide, whatever you want. And for 20 of them, it's $11, free shipping. This is where I get mine. Now, the other thing we need is double-sided tape, if you're going to use tape. Now, there are many kinds of double-sided tape on Amazon. This one looks like a good one. I haven't tried this particular one, but I've tried many others, and they all seem to work pretty well. The other thing you need is super glue. You need super glue in small drops, of course, but you can buy packages here on Amazon for many different tubes of it, and it'll last you for a lifetime probably. Now, if you're going to hot cut your material, what I do is I just put my template on top of my sail material and move my soldering iron around the perimeter of my template, cutting the sail material the size of the template. I use this one right here. This is a rechargeable, soldering iron. It works really well. It's got a relatively narrow tip that you can reshape if you want with a file or other means to shape it. But it's relatively inexpensive and it works really well. I use it on everything, including making the holes for the bridle lines in my kite sail. Now you also need a utility knife for many things in making a North American fighter kite. I like the break-off blade style, so that's what I use. But as you can see on Amazon, there's many, many options. Choose what you like. And then for the bridle lines and the tension lines that I make, I use a braided Dacron fishing line. I've never ordered this particular one, but it probably would work well. You just need something in the 16 to 20 pound test strength. You could use 10 pounds, 10 test strength, and it'd be fine. There's very little real pressure on the bridle of a fighter kite, but just to be sort of ensured that it doesn't break in higher winds, I use 16 to 20 pound test line.